All right. In this one, we're going to finish going through most of Blighted Village, ending with the three ogres. So after killing Fezark, you get his very heavy axe, and then you can stop this windmill and meet up with Barkus Root, a deep gnome. His quest line is pretty long. It's also a little finicky and has some glitches to it. If you walk back here to the statue, if you haven't done the ogres yet, Shadowheart has a little interaction where she alludes to her Shar worship. If you go to the ogres first, you interact with the books on the bookshelf, and it triggers the same kind of an interaction. I like to come over here into the apothecary shop and loot as much of the first floor as I can. You can't do all of the first floor because the goblins below will see you. And then I like to sneak and stay hidden until a goblin comes up to the second floor here, up this staircase. Then I can try to kill him kind of in secret without getting the other goblins involved. This fight is a lot easier if you take them one by one. They have a tendency to alert the goblins at the southern entrance if you don't do that. Still a pretty easy fight overall, just a little more complex. Using sneak to stay out of the sight lines, you could take that archer out in one hit. Now, the goblin over here on the platform, that's a problem because if I run over to attack him, I'm going to be seen by the goblins at the end. It's going to alert them. So I have to try to take him out from a distance for this particular encounter to go the way that I want it to. So all ranged attacks here. You can go inside the fence, but you just can't go all the way up to the platform. That will aggro the other ones. And then obviously if you stay outside the fence, he's going to run over to you. I'm a big advocate in D&D fights of maintaining your distance. Don't ever use your action to close the distance between you and an enemy. That means that you're spending your actions on movement and they're spending their actions on attacks. That puts you at a disadvantage. Here we see the Shadow Blade and its power. The 2d8 coming in for a 26 damage psychic attack there. Just kills the archer right off the bat. The Goblin Warrior also does a significant amount of damage if he hits you. If you're fortunate, you can have your people set up in such a way that you can kill him before he gets a chance. Now, in this encounter, I could have done more to him. I think I just kind of forgot that Lae'Zel was still hidden, so I hit end turn. Fortunately, he misses his attack on me, and we're able to wrap it up. So again, I'm looting everything that I can because this is honor mode. Everything is a bit more expensive, and we want to have as much money as possible in order to be able to afford all of the items that we're going to want to get. So, after doing all of that, I am going to fight the three ogres. There's a couple different ways you can handle this whole combat situation. If you have some explosive barrels, I would recommend jumping down on the western side of them and sneaking up close enough to them. You can't get too close because then they will start talking to you. There's a scripted interaction. But if you can sneak up close to them and throw barrels in around them and then blow the barrels up, that'll give you a really big advantage to start off with. I don't have any barrels at this point in my honor run, so I'm just looking to spend the rest of my spell slots and resources getting these ogres down. Ogres are tough. They're a pretty big problem. They do big damage. They give you big hits. They have a big health pool. They're big. They're difficult to deal with. So 3 ogres at once is significant. One of the ways that you can handle this interaction is if you're a particularly persuasive character, you can convince the ogres to help you out, and you'll get Lump's horn. Lump is the leader, and you can use that to summon them later on. I don't think I've ever done that, so I don't know what the specifics of that look like. I tend to just take them out here and now. So they're doing very ogre things. They're comparing the flavor of different other races of Faerun. So the main reason I'm going to start up on the roof here is that it's going to force them to have to travel quite a distance in order to get to me and start hitting me. And I think it's a bit much at this level to be getting hit by 3 ogres. Maybe 1 you could tow up to, but 3, I think you pretty definitely are going to die in that circumstance. So I am keeping my distance, and I'm going to force them to have to run up onto the roof to try to fight me. And my goal in this is that I want to kill them before they make it, obviously. Now, they can cover a lot of ground. They're large, and they have quite a bit of movement. However, some of them are maybe a little too smart for their own good. Lump is going to try to cast spells and use scrolls. And that can be annoying. He can put out a fair amount of damage at a distance, but a lot of times his spells also miss. As anyone who's played a wizard knows, having a spell doesn't mean that it's going to accomplish anything. Nothing more fun in the D&D experience than spending all of your combat resources in order to accomplish nothing on your turn. And that happens quite often, especially at lower levels. D&D as a game system kind of solves that. As you level up, you stop missing and you start hitting more. However, you end up becoming really incredibly powerful. That's part of the reason why in Baldur's Gate they made the conscious decision not to let you go past level 12. Really, by level 12, you're pretty insanely powerful in this game system. And really, with a party of 4, it's almost impossible to have your party get wiped out. The programmers of Baldur's Gate 3 try to test that theory a little bit, try to create scenarios where you can get wiped out. And really, what it boils down to is if you're poorly prepared to handle things going sideways, then yeah, you're gonna get wiped out. Sometimes funny things like that can happen where Chalk just threw a rock or a barrel or something at Karlach and knocked her off of the building. Fortunately, she didn't take any damage at all from the fall, so really she's just in danger of getting hit by an ogre. But Shadowheart was going to try to kill him regardless, so I think, you know, it didn't really mean much in the end. Had she taken some fall damage, that would have been more frustrating. But now all I have to do is just run up the ladder. Fank is not really aware of what's going on, so he could have tried to corner Karlach, but he doesn't do that. Instead, he climbs up top. And actually, that's probably the more frustrating thing to do to my party at this point in time. Now, a lot of my characters here, like Shadowheart and Baevielle, are really more melee focused, so they do a lot more damage in melee. So my only real concern at this point with Fank up on the roof with them is whether or not they're going to be able to sustain the amount of damage that he's going to put out. So as long as they can stay on their feet, the fight's actually going to go quicker with him in melee range. I remember I did a tier list for the origin characters in a couple videos, and I was going back and looking at that, and I realized I did not say anything at all about Lae'Zel, who is one of the main origin characters that you get to play with. Lae'Zel is there's nothing mechanically special about her, I think, because she's a Githyanki, she gets access to some spells. That's not different than like what you would get by creating a Githyanki character yourself in the character creation screen. So she doesn't have special mechanics that she's adding. So I would probably rate her about the same as I would like Minsk or even Halsin. There's nothing, very unique about her. I think that the programmers of this game did a really excellent job in setting up the role playing side of all of the characters. There are far more compelling reasons to play any of these characters for their storyline and their unique character interactions than for their just raw mechanical power as characters. So you can see Fank hit Baevielle, and because he's a big ogre and he hits really big, he knocked her backwards, and then she fell through a hole in the roof and went all the way down to the stairs below and took the majority of her damage just from falling. So now, not only is she almost dead, but also she has to run all the way back around the building in order to rejoin the fight. And he's going to keep doing that kind of thing. As you can see, he ran over to Karlach there and tried to kick her off the building. That didn't work. So Baevielle's in kind of a weird position now where she's in danger of having to fight Lump before she can get back up onto the relative safety of the roof. Because Fank did not kill Karlach or knock her off the roof doing extra damage, by kicking her, all he did was create some distance between them. And so she was able to get away, and then he was taken out at range. So I'm just going to speed up the rest of this fight. It's not super interesting. Basically, I'm just using their actions to try to keep them alive. So I'm using actions for dashing, I'm using actions for throwing healing potions at myself, and obviously using bonus actions to drink the healing potions. And then the rest of the fight is just me at range attacking Lump the Enlightened, trying to get him down without having to face him in melee. Since that went relatively poorly for us with Fank, he kept kicking us off the roof and doing lots of damage. Lump is going to fall for it, essentially. He's going to stay down there and cast cantrips at us, which do a fair amount of damage, but I'm not in danger of being knocked off the roof. So it's really just kind of a back and forth of shooting him with crossbows and firebolts and whatnot and keeping our safe distance from him. The platform that Lae'Zel and Baevielle are on, Lump can actually knock that platform down by hitting the support beam there in the middle. So that's why you see me run out, take a shot, and then run back. I want to avoid falling off the roof again. And you can see, even though his ranged attacks are less powerful than his melee attacks, he has done enough damage to some of the characters that they're, on the verge of going down and being unconscious. So part of what I'm doing is I'm trying to judge whether or not it's worth it to spend healing potions on them, or if I can just gut it out for the rest of the fight and do a short rest or a long rest to regain health at that point. I don't want to use up all of my potions, so I'm trying to avoid healing.